It's Derek, aka Mr. Shred from Masters of Shred, your #1 source for your daily Shredtacular content. And what you know, I have a very special guest with me today. Here at Rockfest 80s in Miramar, Florida, the Shred legend, Mr. Scary himself, the one and only George Lynch.
Ouch.
Give it up.
I don't know about Shred. Would you call me Shred? What?
You're Shred legend, Shredtacular, Shredsation.
I don't think I would
Guitar
associate
hero.
myself with Shred in any way.
No.
And once in a while I'll do like a fast scale that's fast from my era. Like the 80s era, which is kind of, you know, what we were all doing back then. But by today's standards, I don't know.
Looks like you define Shred differently than I do and everybody else. We'll get to that because even playing slow can still be Shred. It all depends. Interpretation. Thank you, by the way, but if you guys don't know, George just killed it with Lynch Mob on stage here. Blew the place up, amazing. And before I go into too much, I want to also thank George's amazing daughter, Mariah, for making this happen. Thank you so
This is
much.
the one that Mariah said it. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Now you tell me.
Yes, thank you very much. Awesome. So I'm just going to hop right into something I want to get off my chest here. I've been pondering about this. Maybe some of you people have. How do you do it? Meaning, how do you go out, make double-digit albums, constantly put out new music that is fresh, and you indulge in different styles and different guitars, and now you're even building guitars, and you stay so relevant when a lot of guys are in your era, they don't do it anymore, and they don't really put out new music, and you have albums on the way, multiple albums a year. It's incredible. I don't know how you do it.
Well, I do the records really quickly, and the other thing is the reason how I try to keep it fresh is like I said, I just get in and get out. You know, I just capture a moment of inspiration, and I have to admit that a lot of times the way I've learned all my life is listening. That's all I do, really. I really haven't been formally trained in any particular way, but I just listen and try to mimic things, but I never learn anything verbatim. You know, I couldn't play any solo off a record exactly, but I capture the spirit and then I reinterpret it. So a lot of these records I'm doing, I'm kind of like, you know what do I want to do? I want to do something a little strange. I want to do something a little different, a little unexpected. And maybe I'll just hear something on the radio that day, you know, record it on my iPhone, and then I'll, like, you know what, I'm going to do something that, in the spirit of that. Because I don't really learn it, but I was like, you know, I'll try to play it, sort of, and then I come up with something new. And that's all I do. It's like that's my secret.
So you don't really overthink it. You get inspired, you grab it, you apply your style into it, you hit it.
I mean, we usually any project I'm working in, we write and record a song a day, no matter what it is.
That's pretty impressive.
And you know, I mean, it's not a contest, not a race. It's not about that. It's really just about why spend any more time on that? Because that's really a long time when you think about it. Because how long does it take to play that song?
A couple minutes, right?
So you got 24 hours to work on a couple of minutes after you've been doing it for 45 fucking years. If you haven't figured it out by then, you shouldn't be in this business, right?
Right. Gotcha.
So
sometimes just don't question it. Just put it in there. Keep going. And you take too long, maybe you'll.
You know, when you get
question
into
yourself.
situations where you get these big project records that, you know, some of us have been involved in, it's honestly there's so much time wasted, and which is money wasted. You know, sitting in a very expensive studio and really just picking your butt and doing nothing for hours upon hours upon hours and just wasting time. It's crazy. I remember there were studios we'd be in for months, right? Maybe 6 months, right? And they would set up pinball. We didn't have video games back then, but they had pinball machines, or video machines, you know,
right.
like Asteroids or whatever it was
Right.
back then.
Atari.
Yeah, Atari stuff. And they just have whole banks of those, or pool tables or ping pong. I'm like, go play that. And like, look, I'm spending $3,000 a day to play ping pong. Can I do a record? And it just becomes such a tedious process. And now I do records and just stream on it. I just get in and just bang it out.
And technology has probably helped a lot too.
Well, that exactly. I mean, Pro Tools Edit. Come on, man, that's changed everything. I mean, we all like analog, of course, but try editing on analog. You know, I don't think anybody knows how to do that anymore.
Right. I don't know. I made a documentary about that, right? With Dave Grohl, something about that with that studio. It's a good one.
Oh,
They talk about that.
Sound
Yes,
City.
Sound City.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody does that right. There's no need to. But I gotta talk about this, man. What is I told you before, I follow this guitar. Your brand, Mr. Scary Guitars, you're hand building these wicked guitars. It's called the Klondike, right?
This one is, yeah.
And I mean, where did you hand carve these? So from what I gathered from your website, someone wants one of these guitars, you will work with them. You give them your phone number, and you go through every detail.
I gotta be careful with that though, because I you know, sometimes get ahead of myself, and somebody will call me, and it ends up being, you know, I love fans, and that's great and everything. They support my music, helps me pay my mortgage and put my kids through college, and I love that. And that's, you know, I can make music for these people, but I got to be really careful about giving out my phone number, because, and I've had a couple times when it's people have no intention of actually following through and buying a guitar, getting a guitar made. They're not going to commission it, but they just keep me going, keep me on the line. They just want to talk to me, and then I start realizing when they have me talk to their friends. Hey, it's my buddy's birthday. Can you talk to him? We're hey, can you talk to my bass player? Hey, we're going to play Mr. Scary. Can you stay on the phone and tell us if we're playing it right? And I'm like, dude,
that's not part of the deal.
Seriously,
then say that inside the
I don't want to be a rock star here, but seriously, dude, I mean, I don't have time for this. And then they got my number, so it gets kind of weird. So I be careful. So I make sure that, you know, I sort of get people vetted, and then when I know that they're serious, then I go ahead and jump on and say, yeah, man, let's figure this out, figure out the specs.
And these are absolutely gorgeous. I mean, these your hand-carved tiger stripe you got here with the gold hardware, and you kind of did this crazy fade-out paint job. I mean, that's, so you do all the painting yourself, or everything's...
Well, for a paint job like this, yeah, I wouldn't call this a paint job.
Kind of feels flat.
I mean,
you definitely airbrushed it, right?
Well, honestly, I mean, just to be honest with you, I just use Stumac and Re-Ranch Nitro rattle cans. That's what I paint with. And some of it is brushed on, some of it's stains. Like with my Bones guitars, I use a lot of stains. Actually, I use fabric dyes. I use leather dyes. I mean, I heat treat. And I've learned a lot of different processes from other people that have helped me out. Like Steve McSwain and other guys that do this stuff way better than I do. And just hung around with them and learned. Guys like John Cadesi and really great luthiers. And you know, I've taken luthier lessons from some of these guys for years, and you know, so what this paint is actually an accident. So it ended up being just the black and blue on white primer, and then I hit it with the copper around the edges, and it did this metallic thing, and then and this is all nitrocellulose paint, and then I hit it with an amber tinted clear. Again in a nitro can. And this is all painted, like I hang everything up on my tool shed on the side of my house on a coat hanger. I mean, there's dust in there, there's bugs in there and shit. I mean, it's not
That's
a
more
perfect
character.
I guess. I mean,
one of your guitars, I know you had a previous interview. You were recording, I think, your first Lynch Mob album, and you were going through East LA or West LA, and someone shot during the riots in the early '90s. A bullet pulled the back of your guitar.
Oh, this was no, it was not. It wasn't during the riots.
It wasn't.
No. It was actually at a gig in San Pedro, California, at Longshoremen's Hall, if I remember right. Yeah, that was it. And it was a really bad part of town. And once the gig was over, the custodian kind of closed the place up. We were locked out. We didn't think anything of it. We had all our gear. We're still loading the vehicles. And then some guys rolled up on both exits, 2 exits, and they bottled us in the parking lot and went after us and started swinging, you know, tire irons and shit like that.
No kidding.
I got hit upside the head with a concussion.
Oh shit!
I had a bullet go through a couple of windshields. But yeah, the guitar. And there's a friend of mine hit an amp and the amp stopped.
You're kidding. And one of those hit your guitar on the backside, right on the angle. What the hell? Oh my gosh. The stories of the road. Because I saw an interview. You said you were a black Pantera you were driving at the time. You were gunning down late after the studio one night. Something like that happened. So that's where I.
Well, I never got shot at during the riots. I might have embellished something. Or maybe I got my stories confused. But the riots was that was also interesting because I did have my Pantera, and it was and I was working at a studio in Paramount Studios, movie studios. There's a studio called Studio 55, an old studio that's wonderful. And so, but I was staying in Marina Del Rey, so if anybody knows LA, you gotta go down La Brea and then hit the 10 freeway, and basically you're going through the middle of 10,000 fires after curfew. Because I couldn't stop working and get home by 7 o'clock. Right. I had to work. I'm doing it now. I got to work 12 hours a day. So you know, I get done at 11, 12 at night, and there's nobody on the street. National Guard, and that's it. Fucking LA's on fire. You know, 10,000 fires. I mean, I'm driving down the road, and everything was burnt out and on fire, and roving gangs.
Escape from New York kind of deal.
It escaped from exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not even exaggerating at all. I mean, it was crazy. And I had this blacked out Pantera, you know, with nitrous and 500 horsepower, whatever. I had a 357. I had my Del Taco Macho Burrito, whatever the hell, and a Grill Spear. And that's what I ate every night. And then I was going home, and I was trying to make it, you know, through this fucking dodging through these fires. And all my forward gears went out of my car one night. So it took me 4 hours to get home in reverse through the riots. Yeah, that was a fucking
Commitment, because you got to get back to the studio the next day, right? So.
Yeah, well, I took a different. Got a ride the next day.
Well, that's crazy. And you actually also, I saw a picture you put on Instagram. You did a clone of the REH instructional video guitar that you used back in the early 90s, which is pretty incredible. And I'll post a picture of that. I mean, if you're a fan of the tapes like everybody probably is, it's pretty amazing to see that kind of stuff. Now, I know...
It wasn't to be honest, it wasn't exact clone in the sense that it wasn't solid quilted maple.
Okay.
It's a mahogany hybrid, so half the body was mahogany, the back of it. There's very thick quilted maple top.
Okay.
So and really hard to get a full one-piece quilted maple body.
Right.
To find that, you know, a 5.A plus top solid that large would probably cost $10,000.
Here's something for you. Do you still have the blue velvet guitar you did a video with? That was all suede, like velvet?
I don't, and the thing is, there's that guitar and the Pants guitar. There's a lot of guitars that I had back in the day that I was kind of fucked up at the time, and for a lot of years, and I wasn't really paying attention to shit, and a lot of stuff just walked away. Honestly.
I know where that guitar is.
Really? Oh shit.
Down the street.
Now It's Dark.
That guitar.
That's what I said. I wrote Now It's Dark on lipstick on it because that's from the movie.
Okay.
Because that's what he says. That's what Dennis Hopper says.
Okay. Yes. Let me tell you something. Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood. They had that Hard Rock amphitheater inside the casino grounds, and when you go to a show, in the glass case was your blue suede guitar. It says George Lynch with a sign underneath it. It was all worn out, and I'm like, now they tore that down. They're building a huge Les Paul hotel down the street, so I think they still have it there. That may be the one you have, because I don't know many others that are wrapped in blue velvet. I've never seen that ever.
Did it have the little mini oxygen tanks? Because at the end, right before I lost it, I was using it on stage. I had a little nitrous tank that was supposed to mimic what Dennis Hopper would breathe, in blue velvet.
Right, that's great.
So I had some plastic tubing, and I had a mask. And I would put the mask on, then I would do a solo. There was nothing in the tank.
I don't remember that. Again, this was going back about 8 years ago when they first opened the place, or around that time. But that's something to check out, because I'll never forget that when I saw it. I'm like, wow,
I'd love to get that back. But if Hard Rock has it, they own it. I mean, that's the thing, and they own a lot of guitars.
Did that velvet affect the sound of that guitar at all?
Huh?
Did that velvet you put over that, did that affect the sound?
I don't think it was an exceptionally great sounding guitar. It was just cool.
Right. That's what I hear. When you cover it with something thicker like that, it kind of...
That's why I use nitro on these guitars, because it breathes and it off gases and it's very thin.
Yep.
And it doesn't really affect the tone, or it does affect the tone in a good way.
But it still can breathe, so that's good. It doesn't
right.
breathe otherwise.
You're just hearing the wood.
Suffocating it. I hear you. So...